I, female 30, have never really been my parents' favorite child. I have a younger sister who's 25. She's the princess of the family, as they call her. She got this title right after she was born. Due to favoritism issues, my relationship with her got worse growing up. That way was a result, we would see each other less. And then later, we were going to get therapy, but that couldn't happen after I caught her with my ex-boyfriend of 8 years. At that moment, she was dead to me. She married him, and my parents kept asking us to reconcile and finally have those therapy sessions we agreed to have. But of course, I laughed it all off to keep my sanity. I then met my now husband and got married last week. My parents were invited, but my sister wasn't, obviously. My parents asked me to invite her, but I said no, and they didn't push. Besides, she wouldn't have come anyway since she had a loss recently and is in a bad mental state. My parents came to the wedding and started telling my guests the story of my sister's big news in detail. I told them to stop it and let the guests enjoy and focus on the event at hand. Dad grabbed the mic and I had no idea what he or Mom were about to say. I felt rage all over me. I looked at my husband and saw him looking down in frustration. I got fed up. I walked up to my mom and dad and told them to leave. They looked stunned, asking why I was kicking them out and that they were here to celebrate my new husband and me. But I argued that they were here to take advantage of the fact that there was a large gathering to get attention and sympathy for their poor princess. Mom commented on my tone, saying it was condescending and that I shouldn't speak about my sister like this. I told them to leave and threatened security if they refused. They ended up leaving, but were so mad at me. And then the family got involved and said my actions were bitter and resentful and insensitive, and that I was taking my hate for my sister out on my parents, who cared enough to come to celebrate my happy day with me. My uncle, he and his wife are infertile and consider my sister as their daughter, was furious, and some family members left the wedding earlier in support of my parents. It's been tense, and now I think I might have ruined my wedding and acted mean-spirited by kicking them out. Am I the idiot? Should I just have swallowed this and not kicked them out? Excuse me? They grabbed the mic at your wedding and announced your sister's big news. Everything else aside, that would be enough for me to go no contact with someone. OMG, I'm so sorry. No, dear, you're not the idiot. And don't worry. I'm sure many of your guests found that abhorrent and would support you. So your parents wanted to celebrate your day by bringing focus to your sister? My friend, what just happened was a filter event. Everyone out of touch with reality thought that was normal and was mad at you. Everyone who thought that was bizarre stayed for you. Listen, never again in your life will you find people so neatly and cleanly sorted into your real family and toxic lunatics. I've never heard of a filter event before, but I love it. And this is exactly that. Sounds like those who left already favored your sister and were already therefore not great. They're probably not worth keeping in your life. Stay close to those who stayed to celebrate you. I'd be mortified if the bride's parents came up to me and told me of the bride's sister's pregnancy loss in detail. At the time nor the place. I can't imagine what was going through their heads. I think it's time to consider no contact. I think there's a very special place in the bad place for people who use someone else's wedding to broadcast their own news without the explicit permission of the people getting married. Usually there are people who get engaged at a wedding or announce a pregnancy. So this is a new level of sick and twisted, especially when you've already asked them to stop talking about it. And while I agree you should stay no contact with your jerk sister, I wonder how she feels about her parents making a public announcement over a microphone about her loss. It's entirely inappropriate that they share your sister's personal health information with a massive group of people, many of whom are probably strangers to them and your sister. Why would they even need to specify what's exactly wrong with her? I started seeing a guy roughly a year and a half ago. He has a twin daughter named Chrissy. I have an older twin son as well. We met each other's kids 3 months back, and last month, they started having weekend visits here. It's been a super hard adjustment for me especially. The kids get along for the most part, but I'm just having a really hard time. My son has always been a fairly good kid and has hardly ever given me issues. He says he never drew on walls, broke anything of importance, or talked back, aside from occasionally. Obviously, no kid is perfect, and he was always super quick to ask permission to touch my stuff. I personally think I lucked out, and I knew that not all kids were as well behaved as my child, but I wasn't ready, I don't think. I'm just overwhelmed. So since she's been doing weekend visits here, she stays in my guest room. She's destroyed a lot. She rips holes in the mattress and then says that they were already there. They weren't. Draws on the walls and windows sealed with makeup and marker. I sighed. She even takes my new feminine pads to her room and will cut them up. She put a hole in my wall and said it was already there. I can buy a brand new thing of shampoo and conditioner, and it's 100% gone and in the trash by the end of her shower, which lasts 45 minutes every single time. She stomps her feet and slams doors when we have to speak to her and knocks things off the walls. She's generally a good kid, but she's so destructive. But what set me off was her coming here this weekend with her dad. My son was at his father's, and I was called into the office to do a signing that would take only roughly an hour max. So I left them here without me. Well, when I got back, she was sitting at the kitchen table with all my photo albums lying in front of her, cutting out the faces and everything else on these photos and gluing them onto her scrapbook. The photos that I cannot get back as they were printed out years ago when I was in foster care, and those were the only copies I had. Those of my dead friend as well. I went to my boyfriend, who was on the phone outdoors, and told him they needed to leave, explained the situation and told him I was done. A series of those photos, as stupid as they may be, were a huge part of my childhood, and now they're destroyed. I told him I was done speaking to him about his daughter destroying my stuff, and it was time to go. He thinks I'm an idiot for throwing 1.5 years down the drain over some pictures. Am I not the idiot? Is he stupid? It's about the disrespect he's been allowing this to happen, and that was the last straw for you. Honestly, good kids don't do that stuff. If any of my kids had done those things, I have done the same as you. It's just plain rude. Holes in a mattress, cut up pads, wasted shampoo and conditioner, holes in walls. Those aren't accidents. That's all done on purpose. And the pictures, that's just deliberately malicious. Don't get rid of the cut-up photos. They can be stitched together in Photoshop, turned into digital photos, and printed good as new. Seriously, after all the previous incidents, why wasn't he supervising her? At this point, she should dump this guy. Not because of what his daughter's doing, but because he's obviously an idiot at some point. It's just not worth educating someone this dense. It sucks, but this guy's made it clear his daughter's completely inexcusable behavior will always be more important than showing you respect and consideration. I don't think there's anything left for you here. Holy cats. I wouldn't have dreamed of doing 1/4 of this crap she's done at that age. I can only imagine my parents' reaction. Either his daughter has some serious mental health issues, or she's trying to break y'all up, or both, and her dad enables her, then probably wonders why he can't keep a girlfriend. Get done with them and don't look back. Except coworker. Burton always forgets where he leaves his stuff. For example, he always forgets his phone charger at home and borrows mine. I don't mind lending him my charger. He's a nice person and I love maintaining a good relationship with my coworkers, especially male coworkers. But the other day, I was in the restroom, and when I walked back into the office, I saw Martin with both hands inside my purse, literally looking through it. I was shocked. I have highly personal stuff that I carry in my purse. I freaked out and snatched my purse out of his hands, asking what he was doing. He got nervous and said he was looking for my charger. I asked why he thought it was okay for him to look through my purse, and he said that since I always lent him my charger, he thought I wouldn't mind if he looked in my purse for it when he couldn't ask me because I was out of the office and he needed it right then. I told him he violated my privacy and disrespected my boundaries. I filed a report with the company's headquarters after telling them what happened. They said it was unacceptable and promised to deal with it. Martin got in trouble for this, and he and my coworkers are angry, saying I overreacted and went way overboard by reporting the situation. My female coworker told me to get over myself and stop crying victim over a simple misunderstanding. I felt very guilty after this. I think I might have blown this out of proportion and overreacted. But the idiot. Martin needs to learn personal boundaries. Everyone else at your work does too. I've never worked at a place where people would consider it appropriate to go through other people's personal property like that. If a male employee went through a female employee's purse at my current place of business, the reason why wouldn't matter. He would be rightly ostracized for it. That's the behavior of thieves and creeps. That's also why the company is backing you on this matter. What he did is just not acceptable. What is happening in the world that adults think they have the right to plunder other people's belongings and then play the victim when punished? Doctor, I wonder if your coworker would be happy if he was rummaging in her handbag instead of yours. Hold up. I've been married as long as Martin has existed. No way in heck am I going into my wife's purse. If I need something, I bring her her purse. It's our process. I don't care if she tells me to go ahead and get something out of her purse. It seems like a respectful thing. Her purse is her personal space. Interestingly enough, I tell her to get cash out of my wallet, and she brings me my wallet. I would expect to be fired if caught red-handed in a coworker's purse, male or female. I would expect to be walked off the property. Agree, but something about your comment, especially male coworkers, that just isn't sitting right. Maybe you don't realize how you're conveying yourself around Martin. He felt it was an acceptable boundary to cross because of your relationship with him. My boyfriend, 33, and I, 29 female, have been dating for 3 years. He owns a house and lives there by himself. I live in an apartment by myself. We've talked about moving in together, as that's the logical next step in our relationship, and we both want to do it, but I have some hang-ups related to moving into a house that I don't have any stake in. I am refusing to pay any money that would go directly towards his mortgage. I don't have any stake in the house, so why would I contribute to his mortgage payments? I'm okay helping with utilities, groceries, household items, etc., but paying his mortgage is a hard no for me. I just don't think it makes any sense for me to pay his mortgage when I would get nothing from that if we were to break up. His argument is that I would essentially be living with him for free, and it would cause an uneven dynamic in our payment towards shared living expenses, which I kind of get. But at the same time, he's the one benefiting from paying down the mortgage and gaining equity, not me. He also argued that his mortgage is pretty much exactly what I was paying in rent. So by cutting that in half, I am saving a lot of money on living costs compared to living on my own, which, yeah, that's nice too, but legally, it's still not my house. I told him the only way I would pay money for rent was if he signed a contract stating that any money I paid towards his mortgage would be paid back to me if we broke up. It would also allow me protection from eviction and other basic tenant rights similar to a rental agreement. He's refusing to sign anything like that because, in his words, I could break up with him for no reason and then take him to court for thousands of dollars, which I suppose is true, but I just wouldn't break up with him for no reason. The whole situation is driving a wedge between us, and he's angry at me for, quote, being so difficult when all he thinks he's asking is that we split living expenses 50-50 if we're to live together. But to me, it's not that simple when he's the one owning the house we would live in. If I were on the title, it would be a different story. But he's not willing to put me on the title because he's lived there for 7 years already. My lease at my apartment is up in 2 months, and I know I need to make a decision sooner than later. It doesn't help that my landlord will increase my rent, and similar apartments in our area are going for even more than I'm currently paying. But I don't feel right contributing money towards his mortgage. I also know that if I renew my lease, it's pretty much a dagger to our relationship, which I don't want because I love him and see a future with him. I want to make sure I'm protected. I can tell my boyfriend's patience on this is wearing thin, and he's upset with me for digging my heels in on this. But for me, this is about protecting myself from the worst case scenario while he's not risking anything. You are the idiot. You don't have any problem paying your landlord's mortgage, and you have no stake in that. So how is this any different? You live there. You can help pay for the expenses. These always crack me up. Break up with him so he can find someone more intelligent. You ask him to live there free or put your name on the title when you aren't married or even engaged. Even if engaged, or force him to pay you back whatever you paid if you break up. Hope he tells you to kick rocks. I would split the darn bills or dump him so he can find a financially responsible partner. Obstructions on the house he's paid down for 7 years. Oh wow. The house is probably worth 40 more than he paid too. He took all the risk, paid the down payment, and the first 7 years, whereas interest payments are the highest. Touch all the maintenance and upkeep up to that point, etc. In OP is like, you shouldn't get money for housing me unless I get half of your giant nest egg asset. Holy crap. Not the idiot. And don't let others here tell you otherwise. You are making the right decision. When renting from a landlord, you're not buying food together with your landlord. So if the rent your boyfriend has calculated for you is the same as your current rent, plus you'd be splitting expenses, then you'll end up paying even more. And that's bad enough. Exactly. I cannot believe these responses. The boyfriend is also going to share the same living space, unlike a regular landlord. So if she pays off half the mortgage, plus helps him out with the expenses for a mutual living space, she's effectively treating the property like her own. Except it's not her own. This isn't the case when renting from a landlord. But to put it bluntly, I, 20 male, look like a girl, a flat-chested one, but still. I guess I'm just unlucky in the genetics department. Most people think I'm just a tomboy, but still it gets a bit annoying having people think I'm a girl. I'm pretty comfortable with myself now, but I did used to get bullied a lot for it and can be a bit sensitive about it. My sister's 26, husband 30 is always making jokes about it. I've told him to stop, but he never does since it's all just jokes. I've gotten sick of it and wanted to get him back instead of being my usual timid self, not saying anything. So I went out of my way to get some friends and my younger sister to give me a little makeover before they came over. Basically, they made me look as girly as possible. They did a pretty good job, and it turns out that if I'm all made up, I look like a younger version of my older sister. When they came over, I acted as girly as possible. He was visibly very uncomfortable, so I was winning this one. Ate left early, and I got a text from my sister calling me an idiot for making her husband uncomfortable. She told a few family members, most are on my side, but a few think what I did was childish and in idiot territory. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's just joking, right? Or his brother-in-law, so much of an idiot that only he gets to joke around. Shame on your sister for marrying a guy who treats her family this way. I bet there's a skeleton somewhere in his closet dying to come out. I spring. I think you made your brother-in-law question his orientation. Maybe he'll shut up now, and he'll probably avoid you for a while. Tell your sister to grow up. Of course, it's just a joke. Or is she worried that her husband will want the younger one? And if he says anything about it, ask him why he was so uncomfortable over a little joke. Because he can take a joke, right? Could it possibly be because he found another man attractive? Is the big McMahon scared he might like guys? And the fairer. Ask him quietly sometimes what he thought about it, really. See how many buttons you can push before he runs away. I think it's pretty funny. Why does it scare him so much to see somebody else doing something like that? Is he really that insecure?